Hi everyone, welcome to the Knit Shift. My name is Laura and today is Monday, Memorial Day, May 30th, 2016. If you're new here, welcome. This is my knitting podcast and I'm glad you decided to check it out. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with me. Hey, excuse me. Excuse you. What do you think you're doing? My dog is sniffing around my knitting bag on the other side of the camera. Show notes for this episode can be found at theknitshift.com. I am on Ravelry's Yarnstormer, and we also have a Ravelry group for the podcast. So if you search The Knit Shift, you'll find us, and we have a knit along going through tomorrow. And I am on Instagram as Laura Mahalski. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. I came back from Pennsylvania this morning. I woke up around 6 a.m., rode in the car all day with my boyfriend, and got back to Virginia about 3 hours ago. I wanted to record kind of a starter to some stuff I'm going to share with you from my trip to see my family this weekend. So I have just a couple things to share with you this week. I have a finished object and a work in progress. I very much have socks on the brain right now, so let's get to it. I finished a pair of socks while I was in Pennsylvania. They are so new that I have not cut off the yarn. It's still attached to the ball. This is Socks That Rock Lightweight in Bason, and these are socks for a friend. They're not on my sock blockers because they're slightly smaller than my sock blockers. My friend has smaller feet than I do. This is my finished pair. It's kind of my standard toe-up formula. I cast on 28 or 32. I believe I increased every third round. And knit on up the foot, did a fish lips kiss heel, and carried on up the leg and did some 2x2 ribbing. And obviously I have to weave in the ends even on the first sock. So I have quite a bit left over. I'd say this is probably 30 grams or so. That'll make for some nice minis. So this is my 6th pair of socks for the year. So I'm very happy about that. I had hoped it, and I didn't really have a goal for sock knitting this year, but I had hoped to knit 12 pairs for the year, so I'm well on track for that. And I have a work in progress to share with you. I'm carrying this around in my llama bag from a gift shop called Mongrel in Richmond, Virginia. And I made quite a bit of progress on this weekend. Honestly, the only reason I have any knitting progress is because of this trip to Pennsylvania. I rode in the car both ways, 8 hours. I spent some time hanging out in the hotel room with my family. It was really nice to knit. So here we are. You saw this last week when it was about, just the toe. So I've made quite a bit of progress. I'm knitting up the foot, and I did from here above today. I knit here up, and I did a fish lips kiss heel, and now I'm on the leg of the sock. So I'm quite pleased with this. This is an online super sock. It's one of those German sock yarn manufacturers. I got this online at, I believe it either Webs or, what's the other one? Oh, littleknits.com. I probably got it at littleknits.com. This is a sport weight, so it's pretty hefty. And I'm knitting this on size 2, and you'll notice if you're a longtime podcast viewer, there's no red cord here. I normally knit with Chiaogus, but these are a pair of, I believe, Addy Sock Rockets or Addy Turbos in a size 2. And I like them, but not as much as my Chiaogus. I like the cable a bit more on the Chiaogu. It feels, this is very floppy, but I just think I like the material. I like the red kind of plastic coating versus the clear cord. And I like the feel of the needles a bit better for Chiaogu. They're pointier. These are a bit more dull, I'd have to say. But they're knitting on a size 2, and this is only a 56 stitch sock because it is a sport weight, so it really is flying. And these are a gift for my boyfriend's mom. We're going to see her in August in Texas where she lives, and I want to bring her a knitted gift because she really loved the first thing I knit her. And that's it for my knitting. I'm sorry. A segment I'm going to share with you later will have a bit more knitting in it. I filmed a little bit with my parents this weekend when I was in Pittsburgh. We were there for my mom's side of the family's annual reunion. My grandma and Pap had 10 kids. My mom is number 6 of the 10. So a lot of them try to come back for the reunion. But the reunion is really for my grandma's family. My grandma who is still alive. She's 93. My grandma was one of 6 kids, and so she and my pap had 10. Her brother Joe and his wife had 10. Her brother Timmy and his wife had, I think, 6. My Aunt Peg and her family had, I think, 8. And my Uncle Jack and his family had 3. And then there was a 6th sibling, but she was a nun, so she never had any kids. So it's kind of that whole family reunion. So there's a lot of cousins, a lot of my mom's first cousins. We do it every year. We do it at the same park, same day. So that's what I went to this weekend, and it was really nice. And I got to chat with my grandma, who I last saw in March, and I got to spend some time with my parents and my brother, and it was just a really, really nice weekend. The day before I left, though, was a really long day at work. We had a project crop up ahead of the holiday, and I kind of stepped up and helped out another team with it. And basically, we try to have the best content in the Sunday paper, and we were going to publish this story later this summer, but we decided to publish it this weekend on Thursday, and it's a massive, massive project, and it's about a Navy SEAL, just for context, I live in Norfolk, Virginia, which is home to the world's biggest Navy base. There's all sorts of Navy installations here, including Little Creek Naval Amphibious Base, which is where half of the Navy SEALs are based, and the other half are in Coronado, California. And if you're unfamiliar, the Navy SEALs are the most elite sailors in the Navy. They do a lot of special missions. They're the ones who killed Osama bin Laden. I should clarify, if discussion of suicide bothers you, you can feel free to skip ahead. So a normal Sunday story is about, I'll say, 50 inches long. That's a big story. This was a 2-day story, so we published part 1 on Sunday and another part on Monday, and each part was 130 inches. Basically, the thing I worked on is about a Navy SEAL who had started almost acting as if he had Alzheimer's and becoming fixated on things. He wasn't forgetting family, but he was just acting very differently, and he ended up killing himself, and his widow decided to donate his brain for research. They knew he had PTSD, they knew he had a traumatic brain injury, but what they discovered was that he had CTE, which is the disease that some NFL players are being diagnosed with after their death. You can only be diagnosed with it after your death. They have to find evidence of this protein in your brain, but it can only be diagnosed with an autopsy. So it's a story that explored the idea that a lot of military members face blast training and exposure to blasts, when they breach a building or in training, and there's nothing that conclusively links military service to this illness, but it's exploring that idea that military service could be linked, CTE could be linked to the service. So it was an honor to work on this project. Working on military stuff means a lot to me on many levels, for many reasons. So it was a really long day Friday, but it was well worth it for such an important project, and I will link to it in the show notes if you're interested in reading about it. I worked on the headlines, which you won't see because the online headlines are different, but I had to come up with the words for the print headlines, and the title of the series is Reverberations. So I had a very minor role in it, but it just meant for a really long day Friday working on it and getting it ready for publication. So that's what I did the day before my trip. So that was kind of an out of the ordinary thing. So yeah, that was my day. That was my really long day Friday. So with that, I think I'm gonna go because I'm pretty pooped from my trip, and I want to get to editing this together. So with that, I think I'm gonna go. I hope you have a fantastic week with lots of knitting, and I'll see you soon. Bye. So hi everyone, I'm joined with my dad, a very special podcast guest today. This is my dad, Mike.
Hello.
And he can tell you about one or two of his favorite knitted gifts. My dad isn't a knitter, but he receives a lot of crocheted and knitted items. So Dad, why don't you tell us about when Mom broached the idea of knitting this thing for you?
Dorothy, it's like Laura's, a proficient knitter, and she asked me would I like her to knit me a vest, and I didn't answer right away, and she finally said that wasn't I keen on the idea, and I said, well, I'm kind of torn. I'm afraid you don't love me enough to knit me a sweater, but I don't wear vests, so I don't know how to answer this one and not give the wrong answer. And she ended up knitting me a beautiful sweater.
And it's navy blue.
Navy blue.
And has some stripes on the chest, right?
Yes, and they go out to the arms.
Yeah.
Looks like a very, in a way, like a very old football type jersey with the design, and I love it.
Yeah. And do you wear? How cold does it have to be for you to wear it?
Well, I work in a green building, so it's always very warm in the winter, and in fact, it's too warm. But if I'm outside, I'll wear it a lot in the winter.
Excellent.
Usually below freezing if I'm going to be outside. My favorite thing Laura's ever knitted me, besides all those socks, which are, again, great in winter, she, I don't even know the term for it, but she knitted a two-color scarf for me that when I walk the dogs, I put that on, which keeps my face from freezing.
I think I held, it's yellow and blue. My dad went to Pitt, so it's yellow and blue. And I think I held yellow and blue together, so it's kind of a marl. It looks a little marl.
Yes, yes, and it's great. I love all the gifts, especially when it's sub-zero and I'm outside. This is, it's very, very nice to have.
Aw, thanks, Dad.
And we have a bunch of, we have a bunch of interns that rotate through, and one of them saw my socks and just thought they were the neatest things. We call them the Dr. Seuss socks.
Yeah.
Because it looks like
they're like bright blue and neon orange.
He was like, oh, that is just so cool. So.
Yeah. And one of my dad's coworkers is a knitter and watches this podcast. So hi, Maria. You'll know this guy. So. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by the Knit Shift, Dad.
You're welcome.
You're the best.
Okay.
All right. I will be joined by my mom in just a few. So I'm back with my mom. So if you have been watching the podcast for a little while, you will know my mom, Dorothy. And my mom wanted to share a really nice finished knit with you. And we're going to talk about a work in progress each. So go for it, Mom.
Okay, on April 7th, there's a website, a woman named Michelle Hunter. Her website is knitpearlhunter.com. And she's known for all kind of different things. She has wonderful, wonderful free instructional videos, and they've got thousands of views. And she also does really great knit-alongs. And they're almost always a mystery knit-along where you don't necessarily know what you're making ahead of time. You know what the garment will be, but you don't necessarily know what it looks like. And the one for April and May was going to be a poncho. So it ran for 4 weeks, 4 Thursdays in a row. She released a hint. Or directions, I guess, a clue for how to proceed with the knit-along. And you didn't really know what you were making except for this artistic drawing. And it's on her, it's called 14 Karat is the name of the pattern. So anyway, it's really just one big rectangle. And since I did mine, and the yarn that she suggested using was called Kobasi. I can stand or move a little closer.
I can tilt the camera a little bit.
The yarn was called Kobasi, which stands for, it's by Skacel. And it's cotton, bamboo, and silk. And I'm one of the few that used a patterned yarn instead of a solid color. And it has these nice diamond, I'm not sure if it's going to show real well, diamond edging. The very first clue was diamonds all along the bottom. And then you did 16 repeats of a 28 row pattern. And there are double yarn overs in it, and then this nice diamond design at the bottom of it. So when it's folded like this, it just looks almost like a blanket folded in half, but when you wear it a certain way, the cowl neck just kind of drops a little bit.
A nice cowl neck.
And then she has a really easy seaming method along the shoulder. And if you had it finished by May 31st, you could enter a contest with Skacel to win a set of Addy Turbos of your choice, and then I think that's the grand prize, and then there's a couple of other lesser prizes. So that tomorrow is May 31st. I made sure that I got it done. I got it done about a week ago, and I entered the contest.
It's very pretty, and
it's
so
very
it's
soft.
Cotton, what, and silk?
Cotton, bamboo, and silk. That's why it's called
very
Kobasi.
drapey. When my mom told me about it, I thought she was saying like kielbasa, like the sausage. but you know.
Which is big with us.
Sausage
Polish
poncho.
people,
Yeah.
Yeah, sausage poncho.
So my mom we each have a work in progress to share too. So my mom, go for it, Mom.
Oh, I'm making a Christmas present for my boss, who there's not a snowball's chance in hell of her watching this video. So anyway, she looks really good, and she's got white hair. She's in her early 70s, and she's chair of the department where I work, in the music department at the University of Dayton. And this is going to be burgundy, white, and black. It's called
Hold it.
Pendulum. Laura, hold it a little bit closer.
I'm like Vanna White today.
Yeah.
It's a little shadowy,
I
but
just started it. This is actually my decoy knitting, so that I can actually work on a surprise project for Laura, who has seen it like at a glance a couple of times this weekend
I came off
already.
the elevator this morning and
Like, oh no, put away the
she
knitting.
and my dad and brother were like, stop! Don't look!
So this is the decoy knitting, which is named by my husband, who you met earlier. And but I really do need to have something started for her. I mean, it'll be done way before Christmas, but it's going to be a Christmas present. She's allergic to wool, so this is a cotton acrylic blend from Knit Picks called Comfy is the name of the yarn.
Yeah.
So that's
Very
my project.
nice. And what needles are you? What size needles? Or what?
They are my. I invested in some Skacel interchangeable Addy Turbo laces, and I think these are 6.
I didn't know you had those. Fun.
Yeah, these are 6. Yes.
Nice. I have one thing to share. So Josh, my boyfriend, drove yesterday, and I finished a sock, which you'll see elsewhere on the episode. I finished a pair, but my sister-in-law is not here this weekend. She had one of her nephews is graduating from school, and she rightfully opted to attend that instead of the family reunion. So I can knit on something for my sister-in-law while she's not here. So I'm carrying this around in my little Erin Lane bag. I bought this at SAF, which I really like it. There's a nice ribbon that holds the drawstring in, and I really like that. And I like rainbows, so I like the bag a lot. So I showed this a couple episodes ago on the podcast. This is the Eye Blink shawl by Heidi Allender, and it's a crescent shape, and I've made quite a bit of progress, though it looks pretty modest here. I have made quite a bit of progress since I finished the sock. So it's kind of a purpley gray. Again, the color is kind of hard to see because we're in shadow right here, but you'll see this on another episode. And I'm using size 6s, 4 millimeters.
Dang, I was going to ask you, and what needle size are you using, Laura?
I was ready.
That's a co-host. That's what a co-host has to do.
I'm using my Knit Picks interchangeables, and they're perfectly good, and don't poke my fingers. They're not too sharp, just right point. And I like this eye blink pattern because it's a free pattern, and I like that it's one where you can knit to X number of stitches, but you can keep going if you want to make the stockinette bigger. It's a very simple, I think it's a 6-stitch repeat, so you can start the lace whenever, which I like. So, all right, I think that's it, unless you have anything else.
I'm done.
She was like, do you want me to bring the project that I'm knitting for you? And I was like, no, I don't want to see it. I want to be surprised.
I thought about doing a reveal, but that could be really dicey. Like, will she like it or not?
You know I'll like it, but I'm not, oh, it's great.
The goal is to get it to you for SAF.
Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see if we can, she just said that on camera, so now you're beholden to that deadline. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. All right. Bye, everyone.